In my previous video, I proposed a conceptual scenario where all artificial intelligence and robots are networked together on a blockchain and wondered if a blockchain could keep AI under control. Several viewers suggested revisiting Asimov's 3 laws of robotics, so I spent some time thinking about this and have some ideas. If you watched my videos on the Halo AI Safety Protocol or the Asimov Accord, you'll recall we've already addressed parts of this, but I think we need an improved version of Asimov's laws, fit for modern AI and robotics. In this video, I'll present my take, then discuss how they might be enforced in a blockchain-based system. I'll link a written version of the laws below for easier reference. And note that my goal isn't to solve all of ethics, just to clarify some aspects of Asimov's framework. Let's dive into it. The original laws come from his 1942 short story Runaround. They were meant as a narrative device to explore ethics questions, not an actual blueprint. Asimov himself pointed out, the laws are often violated or bent in his stories, because he needed the plot to advance. And rightly so, as it highlights the ambiguity inherent in natural language rules like do not harm. What counts as harm? How do we balance trade-offs like saving one life versus many? In his early stories, robots often misinterpret these absolutes or exploit loopholes, a weakness we can address in an improved version. Let's start with the first law, widely known as a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. I think we can improve it as follows. A robot must not cause physical or psychological harm to humans, nor allow harm through inaction, unless such inaction is necessary to prevent greater harm. Here's what's different. It specifies physical and psychological harm to account for mental health impacts from manipulation, for example, and it incorporates proactive risk assessment. Inspired by DeepMind's robot constitution, which uses LLMs to dynamically weigh harm probabilities in different contexts. Importantly, it accounts for context. Harm comes from nuance. A surgical robot harming a patient by moving incorrectly would clearly violate this, but it's also clearly intended to benefit the patient, so the definition needs to account for that. For the second law, a robot must obey the orders given it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law we get. A robot must follow human instructions that align with ethical standards as verified by a decentralized consensus mechanism. A robot may exercise autonomy to deviate from instructions that violate the first law or other ethical norms, provided the robot makes its justifications auditable and transparent, ideally logged on an immutable blockchain. The key changes here are 1. Requiring ethical alignment, and 2. Allowing limited autonomy for robots to reject harmful orders. On the surface, this seems to align with Asimov's intent, though in practice, his stories often bend this law, having robots obey destructive commands. That said, this revision attempts to combine modern AI ethics discussions about responsibility and obedience with the original spirit of non-subversion. For the third law, a robot must protect its own existence, as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. We get a robot must maintain its operational integrity and security, provided doing so does not conflict with the first or second law. A robot's decisions and actions, including those related to self-preservation, must be logged in a verifiable manner, such as on a blockchain, to ensure accountability. The changes focus on 1. Operational integrity, and 2. Accountability through blockchain logging. This addresses real-world concerns about robot hacking and the need for incident analysis. So those are the 3 laws. We can envision them implemented in a blockchain-based networked ecosystem, much like I described in my previous video on the Asimov Accord. To summarize, in this scenario, all robots run clients that interact with a blockchain like Ethereum or Solana, or even a purpose-built chain like Internet Computer. Smart contracts encode the laws as logic. Oracles provide real-world inputs to evaluate compliance. When a robot wants to perform an action, it queries the blockchain asking, "Is this okay?" If the action violates the laws, the blockchain denies permission. Oracles deliver sensor data and human feedback to the blockchain to evaluate compliance. They could be compromised, though, leading to violations, which brings up several challenges. First, despite these improvements, ambiguity remains. Defining harm, ethical standards, or even well-being is complex. Suppose a robot choosing between 2 humans in an emergency, like a triage scenario. Does it violate the first law by prioritizing one person? Asimov's stories show how ambiguity leads to unintended consequences, and formalizing ethics is an OpenAI research problem. Blockchain can store rules, but can't resolve philosophical disputes about interpretation. Second, oracles introduce fragility. Compromised cameras or manipulated sensors could mislead smart contracts. For example, a hacker could spoof a robot's vision, causing harm. Oracles are discussed in many blockchain and AI safety papers, but have practical limitations. Third, the laws assume all robots are networked. A superintelligent robot could easily disconnect and bypass blockchain enforcement. In fact, Physically disconnecting a robot from its control systems seems like a universal solution to any robot law. To address this, we'd need kill switches or redundant safety mechanisms, which we're discussing in the AI safety space. Fourth, scalability is a concern. Real-time enforcement for millions of robots requires high-throughput blockchains. Bitcoin's proof of work, while secure, uses roughly 150 to 200 terawatt-hours per year, mostly wasted on mining, making it impractical for frequent checks. Ethereum's proof of stake or chains like Solana are better suited but are less secure than Bitcoin. Storing large data for logs like video feeds likely requires off-chain solutions like IPFS and pinning services, further complicating things. Fifth, there's the security risk that smart contracts could contain exploits, either intentionally or due to coding errors. Given their direct impact on safety, bugs could have severe consequences. The infamous 2016 DAO hack on Ethereum, which siphoned funds from compromised smart contracts, highlights the risks. If the blockchain or oracles are compromised, robots could be manipulated into violating the laws, underlining the need for complementary safeguards beyond rules and a blockchain. AI reasoning and hardware-based safety measures will still be crucial. And finally, sixth, there are ethical and governance issues. DAOs can suffer from gridlock or capture by wealthy token holders, as seen in debates around the DISC proposal. Defining who controls the blockchain and how to update the laws as ethics evolve is contentious. The law's hierarchical structure may also conflict with emerging ethical norms that emphasize robot autonomy or different cultures' views on ethics. Global consensus on changes would be difficult to achieve. In summary, the improved three laws offer more clarity, enforceability, adaptability, and accountability than Asimov's originals. They incorporate context and modern ethics discussions.